This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.
I promise you there's going to be revelations when we get done with this podcast. It's going to leave you thinking, it's going to leave you with understanding why we think the way we do sometimes, why we get stuck in life, what's actually going on in our minds that sometimes we can't move forward or we're dealing with certain challenges. She's somebody that's on a mission to help us understand, harnesses the power of energy as a Reiki master. She's also a pastoral counselor, an intuitive guide, interfaith minister, and so much more. And it's great to have her back here. Chris Clearday joins us on the program. How are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, Steve.
Likewise. And I'm just going to throw these two words out, and then we're going to recap what we talked about last week, but that leads us into why these two words are impactful to figuring this whole thing out, life in general, and why we do what we do. Dysfunctional nostalgia. Those two words almost don't go together. You think about nostalgia, it's nice. I'm thinking about the past and those wonderful memories. And then you put dysfunctional in front of it. It's like, wait, whoa, wait. They're fighting each other.
Right.
Before we define what dysfunctional nostalgia is, let's go back to what we talked about last week. And that was essentially being addicted to suffering. We get in this mode of, and it's a habit, just feeling like CRAP or challenged or being stuck. We're suffering. Why don't you take us through where we left off, or right halfway through where we were last time we got together?
Okay, so I'll just summarize a little bit. So my theory of the addiction to suffering is that we're all addicted to suffering. Like we're all in this together. And it's not about how other people are victimizing us. It's about how we have repeatedly throughout our lives developed a false narrative that has us stuck in a state that really disserves us. So it's, many of us we're happy most of the time, but we can still get triggered. And what happens when we're in the triggered state is we go back to a time when we were young and we anchor into the same exact state where we're feeling either unloved, unlovable, unimportant, unsupported, misunderstood, not good enough. Like the list is endless, literally infinity. But we'll anchor into that when we get triggered. And, last week we talked about micro traumas. So I believe that it's the little things that change a person from who they were meant to be by their true nature into the person that we all become today. It's the little things that mean a lot. And along with micro traumas comes micro triggers. And so there are little things, I think that most people can relate to this if they're married, like your husband or your wife or your significant other says something and you snap. That's a micro trigger, a little microaggressions. But it's because of pain from the past. And really everything comes back to the past.
Mm. Before we journey forward, are we addicted to suffering because we're but we are creatures of habit? We get into a mode and we stay in that mode.
I think so. I think also that, when I talk about the addiction to suffering, I'm talking about anchoring into a state that you experienced when you were a child. So think between the ages of probably 3 and 7. And it was the state where you were literally sulking or wallowing and feeling like nobody understood you, the world was against you. And I think that there is a dysfunctional nostalgia in that we will seek to create that state for the rest of our lives, because the truth is that it's almost like you can wrap a blanket of suffering around yourself that feels good. It has the illusion of comfort. It will never be comforting. It is simply comfortable because it is familiar.
Wow. And I think it goes against what we think because with that blanket, you bring that memory back, and it's like I'm going back there, and it's going to support me because I'm remembering it, or those remembering those feelings, and there's going to be some comfort at some point. I know it's going to be, but it doesn't show up.
Right. It's almost it's such an illusion of comfort, but it's
Mm.
so familiar. And I think that as human beings, we do seek the familiar. That's why children who grow up in dysfunctional families often marry partners who are the same dysfunction.
Oh, oh, spot on. I'll go back to a relationship I was in many years ago, and to illustrate what you're saying, and that was somebody who would always want conflict, always want conflict. And I'm chill. This is me. This is how I roll. This is it. I I just that's the way I like it. That's the way I am. And she would always want to have some kind of confrontation. And I say, "Dale, we'll work it out. It's all good. It's all good, no matter what it might be." After a relationship ended, after a number of years, then I look back on all of it, and then I had the what I connected the dots, and you can do that for yourself or somebody else. And she came from an abusive father, and that's what he would do. And I'm firmly convinced that that was the comfort spot. That was she didn't want to do that, but that was comfortable for her to push a conflict as hard as possible because now I'm back home again. In my mind, I'm back home again.
Exactly. And, she wasn't doing it consciously. Most of this is really
Right.
unconscious. And
Mm.
that's why it's such a problem because we're all doing it. And almost all of us don't understand that we're even doing it. And you can't fix a problem that you aren't aware of. So this is
Yes.
about
Yeah.
getting more conscious, becoming more aware, becoming more mindful and intentional, and putting some more tools in our toolbox.
Ring the clear day bell. You just made it clear. You can't work on something you can't remedy, you can't fix unless you know what the problem is. And so many of us don't know why we do what we do. We don't even know we're doing it sometimes.
Exactly.
How do you define dysfunctional nostalgia?
Okay, so this has always been a work in progress, but I would say it is a drive, just like nostalgia is feeling good about something that brings you comfort. Like, if you go to a diner and you ordered the meal that your grandmother used to make,
Mhm.
I can't find those meals in a diner, but, or somebody cooks you that meal.
Mac and cheese. They say it's the number one comfort food because it comes from your childhood.
Right. Yeah. That's cool. I love that. It didn't come from my childhood, but
Same.
it's more like marinara sauce with pasta.
All right, all right. Is that what it is for you? Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what it is for me? Chocolate shake.
Oh yeah.
Chocolate shake. And there's reasons not even worth getting into. But that's our comfort. Okay, so
Yeah. So that's what's comfortable. Okay. That's what brings us joy. But for some strange reason, we anchor into these states when we're young and we get attached to the actual state. And I believe each person gets attached to suffering in different ways. So, like mine was feeling misunderstood, deeply misunderstood, and holding on to pain from the past. So I'm special. I have two primary addictions to suffering. I think basically we all do, but we're all addicted to stuff. It's like bumper cars. Think of family dynamics. Boom, boom, boom. Mother, father, child, sibling, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents. And then think about workplace systems, bosses, people that are under you, over you, on the side of you. Oh, just crazy. It's just all craziness.
mm, why? Okay, I've heard of the 17-second rule, and that is where you think of a happy moment, and it could be whatever you want it to be. Could be that time I was on vacation, insert name of island, Bermuda. Ah, it's just so nice. I was on the beach and just with a drink, and I get a little book, and I have no worries. I'm not worrying about anything till I get back. And they say that feeling, hold it for 17 seconds.
Mhm.
Hold it in your mind, that feeling. Just, oh man, it's just great. Just no trouble, no stress. Great feeling. And translate that to other situations and hold that feeling.
Right.
So that being said, why why do we hold on to the feeling of these bad memories, if you will, best description I have of those challenges in our life? Why do we want to hold on to those when we can hold on to positive ones?
Well, I think the answer lies in the neural pathways that we have developed. So, when we're children, we are creating our own personal narrative. And then we are reinforcing that by anchoring into the feelings that come along with it. So if we're feeling unimportant as a child, um, and remember that I say you be careful where you point your periscope because you're always going to find what you look for. So if as a child you
Hmm.
feel that you are unimportant, you will find that evidence everywhere. And then you anchor into the feelings associated with it, which are real. And and when you anchor into those feelings, you get attached. There is a pattern that gets set. And then when you take it a step further and you've had that thought and those feelings enough times, you will develop into a behavior pattern. And different people have different behavior patterns. Like some people will go internal and they will shut down, they will withdraw, they will begin suppressing, avoiding, being in denial, pretending. And that goes into people pleasing, being dissatisfied, sad, depressed, anxiety, all that good stuff. Other people can can go external and they will be more inclined to be angry and to project and to invalidate other people's feelings and shirk their own responsibility and not be accountable and blame and
Mm.
alienate people. So we all handle it in different ways, but the answer is that as children, we develop these thought patterns, feeling patterns, and subsequent behavior patterns, and then we repeat them throughout our lives to validate our own personal narrative, which is usually untrue. Like we are not important, we are not unloved or unlovable, but we did feel that way. And then even as adults, we continue because we're programmed. You know, if you think about a neural pathway, the way it gets developed is with repetition. So all of these
Mm.
thoughts lead to all of these feelings, which lead to all of these behaviors. And I liken it to taking a motorcycle trip in the mud along the same pathway, forward and backwards. You're creating a deep groove in the mud. And the more times you think it, the further down you go. And that's a neural pathway. And then guess what? That one was for feeling unloved. The next one is for feeling unimportant. The one on the other side is for feeling not good enough. The one on the other side is for feeling like nobody can hear you or see you or understand you. And before you know it, you have all of these neural pathways that converge into a deep pit of despair. And this is real. Like this actually it happens to all of us. And for some people that are living, really happy lives, it doesn't happen as often. And for other people, they're kind of stuck in it. But neuroscience shows that these neural pathways, it shows how they are developed, and it also shows how they can be changed. And they can be changed quickly. You don't have to actually unplug from a negative state. You just need to repeatedly plug into a positive state. So you go over and over and over again into the positive state to create new neural pathways.
Wow. So it's almost like that's why they say positivity wins. It's
Mhm.
almost like you're squashing the negative with the positive. And so a couple of things here when you talk about how this is formed in our childhood. It's in our subconscious and
Or unconscious.
it's based on false evidence. So, you may have experienced something, but that's not the truth. I was bullied as a kid. Okay. Um, that was on somebody else. That not me,
Right.
but as a kid, it's me.
Exactly.
No, I'm the fat kid. No wonder they're beating up on me. No wonder they stole my Casper the Friendly Ghost lunchbox and threw it out the bus window. No wonder. I'm the fat kid. That's why. But that's not the truth. But as a kid, that is the truth. And then
Yes.
hold on to the truth. And what I'm seeing, you mentioned before, great analogy of the motorcycle driving in the same area and creating something. It's a rut. And what do we say?
We're
Stuck
stuck
in a
in a
rut.
rut. Yes.
Exactly, right?
Yes. And those, the thing is that because this is unconscious, like if we could each figure out our primary and secondary addictions to suffering, work them out in our families, at our jobs, that things would go much more smoothly.
Mm,
Because right now it's like the least fun game of bumper cars you've ever played. Like it's not fun often. And what's really the only thing missing is the consciousness that this is a real thing and that we're really doing it and that we're doing it to ourselves. And I'm not saying that to victim shame or victim blame. I'm saying that because we can't do anything about the bullies on the bus, right? And even now, as adults, we may have bullies in our lives. But the truth, when it really boils down, we are our own worst bully. We are our own worst enemies.
totally.
And we are doing it to ourselves over and over again by holding on to the pain from the past. And the truth is that we were loved as children. Like I came from a very abusive and neglectful combination of parents that were divorced from when I was a young age. But and did I feel unlovable? Of course I did. But was I unloved? No, not at all. I was very loved to the best of their ability.
Hmm.
Children don't know any better. So I think that we've all been victims as children, like real victims, and we tried to make sense out of the suffering. And the only way we could do it is maybe we would hide to get safe, or maybe we would withdraw so that we didn't get slapped in the face. Well, that served us when we were young, but it works against us when we're older because then if there's a problem that needs to be solved and you're used to withdrawing to keep yourself safe, you won't be able to work out the problem.
Well,
And
look at what you said in your childhood, and it's many of us go through a lot of that in our childhood. You were loved, but there was also conflict within the family. But what won? The negative one.
yes, it did. Yeah.
And obviously has to because you're a kid. So you're not going to look at it through a positive lens. After you do this work, you do look at it that way. You have a whole other view of things to the point where if somebody is abusive in your life or they're just not doing the right thing, you don't say, "Oh, it's that it's actually not me. It's them." Not like we're pushing it off us. Relationships do take two, but by and large, they got the issue. I figured it out already. But when you're a child, it doesn't look that way.
Right. When you're a child, I think you're really inclined to take things personally. And
Sure.
taking things personally is like a pathway into suffering. It is a way of feeling that everything that's happening around you is because you are how you are. And you're going to feel over responsible and think that it's all your fault. And,
Mm.
it's not. We did this as children. We have to have a lot of compassion for ourselves now as adults. And, we still do it to ourselves. And we also, I mean, the torch gets passed on. Goes through generation after generation. And suffering is real. There are real huge problems in the world. This is just one thing that we can do to address the suffering that's within our sphere of control. Okay, we can't do anything about the other people, but we can be very aware that our thoughts are going to create our reality. I don't know who said that, but it's true, and it's been proven by neuroscience now. So, what we really need to do is just practice over and over and over thinking thoughts and feeling feelings and behaving in ways that will give us the life that we believe we deserve. Because remember last week, I said you will always give yourself the life you believe you deserve. And that's once you become conscious of the fact that you can, because it's all within your control. It's all within your thoughts, your feelings, and your behaviors.
Like they say, the energy flows where the attention goes.
Yes.
So you can. I have a vision board on the wall right over here. And that's where I put my intention. And there's things that I feel I want and deserve. Why not put your attention in a positive place? Why put it on the negative? How can somebody find more from you? Connect with you as our professional of the year. How can they do that?
Well, I think going to my website would be a good start, but I want to leave you with one thing first.
Sure.
Um, Change your story, change your life. So I think that's the imperative is anything can be healed and all trauma can be healed. All problems can be rearranged in your life so that you can overcome them. And so I just want to leave everybody with an uplifting thought. Okay,
Mm.
so if you want to find me, you can call me. My number 719-332-9226. I'm not a big emailer, but my email is chris@chrisclearday.com. My website is chrisclearday.com. My phone number and email are there. You could check that out. And yeah, I'm just looking forward to spreading the message.
And I appreciate that. And it's a paramount message that many of us don't realize until you start going within, you start meeting people like you and realizing what's going on here. And it doesn't need to be that way. You can change, it doesn't matter where you came from. You can change that story. You really can. And
It's,
I've done it. Work in
it's
progress.
yeah,
But, if I sat around here and told you, talked about, I mentioned bullying. That's just one piece of it. And all of that. And even up until only 5 years ago, before I really dug into this kind of stuff, I was stuck. Or not that life was bad, but it wasn't what I thought it should be. Something was off. Something, there's more out there than this.
right.
And then you figure it out. But it's, I think, like I said before, connecting the dots of your childhood. And sadly, until people realize this, and we're not minimizing suffering, we're not, it's all understood. But until there's some focus put on it, like we're doing today, as you said, it'll just continue. It'll be generational, on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. And it's a shame. Life can be good.
It
Life can,
is sad, I feel for everybody, really everybody, and we're all suffering. We're all in this together,
sure.
but hopefully we can get to a place where suffering becomes more optional and where we can all understand one another better and be more supportive of one another. So, oh, and I want to say happy Mother's Day to everybody out there.
Are you a mom?
Yes, I am. You
Oh, happy Mother's Day.
the most important thing I ever did.
Mm, including this.
More important than this by far, but I'd love to bring the world ways to heal and opportunities to transform, but being a mother was my sacred, precious, oh gosh, just the greatest gift I could have.
Mm. Thank you for today. I truly appreciate it. The realization, the validation of things that I've heard. But this could be all new for somebody, but a starting
Mm,
point to change. And thank you for change your story, change your life. Really
You're
great.
welcome.
All
Thank
right.
you. See you next.
Uh, have a wonderful weekend. We'll catch up next time.
Okay, sounds good.
This is the Global Podcast Network, where executives and professionals connect, share, and inspire. Stay tuned for the conversations that drive success.